Hey, it's St. Patrick's Day week here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Yes, kiss us. We're all Irish, every last one of us. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified Mr. Mark Radulich. And it's St. Patrick's Day all week long this week. We're wearing lots of green. We're drinking lots of Guinness. We're being stereotypically Irish. Take what you will from that. And today we're reading comics. Specifically, I looked for something to match the holiday, as I like to do. I like that synergy. I like to do fun holiday-related spectaculars. And not a lot in the St. Patrick's Day category. Not a lot to choose from.
I can't wait to talk about the Ultimate Warrior raping a leprechaun.
Oh, if you can find it, we'll talk about it. But I did manage to scrounge up what we call here the Grimm Fairy Tale St. Patrick's Day Special 2013. And here to talk with me about that, you just heard his dulcet tones. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Cosmic Treadmill and X-Lapsed, and from Claremont to Claremont, comic book historian extraordinaire and reviewer, Sheehan. How do you do, sir?
Oh boy, I am looking forward to this holiday because it is the only day of the year that I will voluntarily eat raisins. I have them in my soda bread, and it is the only day that I allow raisins into my home and into my body. So it's a pretty big day. Pretty big day.
Yeah, my wife is at least in part Irish, and so it always is a big deal. Even growing up as a kid, St. Patrick's Day, you know, I have an Italian Catholic dad and a Jew mom, and but we had corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day. It was a tradition, and that's something that we still do here in this house, or if we go to my in-laws, we do it there. We always get St. Patrick's Day specific T-shirts. I have a bunch. The last one I got, it says in green and it has a shamrock on it, and it says, "If you pinch me, I'll punch you."
There you go.
Yeah, man, St. Patrick's Day is a fun holiday. I don't get too crazy, but we do like to indulge, and we do like to celebrate it.
Oh yeah, we don't do much more than the food here, but I mean my whole family is, I mean, we're Sheehans, we're Irish, and we're to the point where we're the kind of Irish that if we step outside, we burst into flame.
Yes.
So I am almost see-through.
So not the black Irish, but the pale Irish. Got it.
The albino Irish almost. We don't tan, we burn, but we do celebrate by doing the corned beef and cabbage. I usually do two because I like to do a baked corned beef that has like a brown sugar glaze on it, and then I do the classic boiled corned beef as well. So
okay, so
looking
that first
forward to
one,
it.
I'm going to need you to cut up a few slices, put it in an envelope, and mail it to me.
I will ship it. Yes, it is. It is unbelievable.
You know what's funny about that? Just as an aside, I don't know if you you're not really like a huge movie person, but
no.
there's this movie review channel called Red Letter Media.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they were most famous because the one guy did an entire series about the prequels that got really popular, and since then they've been doing a semi-weekly new movie review show called Half in the Bag. It's been on, you know, they actually just put up a video for their 10-year anniversary last week, and I brought it up because in the Phantom Menace reviews that he did under the guise of a character he created called Mr. Plinkett, he would do a thing with pizza rolls. And he was like, "Oh, does anyone want a pizza roll?" And he would you'd see him peeling pizza rolls out of the oven mid-review. He was like, "If you want a pizza roll, I'll put them in an envelope and mail them to you." And I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but talk about glomming onto someone else's joke and never letting it go. I don't even think he remembers he said it anymore, but boy, do I remember. Anyway, let's talk about comics.
Sure.
So this is brought by a company, and I want to hear all about this because you seem to know in our little pre-podcast chat. You seem to know a little bit about this company. Zenescope puts out a series of Grimm fairy tales, and there's in fact at the beginning of this book there's a whole preamble about it. But tell me, what do you know about Zenescope?
I know that they're at least in part based out of Arizona. I know that some people who contribute art and writing are based right here in my neck of the woods, and so the broad slew of stores we have out here, they support the company because it is in part, or perhaps in some, a local company. And so I always like to support the local talent here. We we have a thriving, or really, at least we had a thriving, like, mini comic market out here. It seemed to be just a really, really great community. And so I would always try, and I've got, long boxes full of just local Arizona stuff, just from local Arizona talent that, I'll never meet. I don't really have any interest in meeting, but I'd like to support them because, I like to think what goes around comes around, or however you say that phrase correctly.
A rising tide raises all ships.
It does indeed. And when I get to the Zenoscope wall, well, these are the books that I don't want my wife to see me reading.
They are a pervy group, aren't they? I know. I was telling you when I found them. I love that phrase, by the way, cheesecake. I recently was asking about anime, and somebody used the term fan service. I'm like, what does fan service mean? And then somebody, like, what does that mean? And so somebody sent me a GIF of an anime girl taking off her clothes. I'm like, oh, got it.
That's one form of fan service, yes.
I don't know all these terms you youngins use. Anyway, I was telling you before we started tonight that my first experience with the Zenoscope books was they were for sale at Ollie's. Mm-hmm. Here in the Tampa Bay area, along with the Marvel and DC stuff. And yeah, I had the same kind of reaction. I'm like, Punisher, Doctor Strange. Like, what is this nude Snow White going on here? This looks mildly pornographic. Let me check this out. And then,
where did Alice's right hand go?
And then you look around to see if anyone's looking at you. You're like, why are you looking at the porno comics, sir? This is a family store.
Exactly. They are. I mean, we've talked about some stuff that's kind of out there, that Warrior Nun stuff. We've talked about the Bill Jemas Marville with those weird covers. We talked a little bit about Trouble with those troubling covers. And, yeah, this is like right out of that realm here. But this has like all the, I don't want to say charms, but all of the trappings of a mid-'90s Image wannabe sort of a situation there, where it's just like, it's kind of flashy, it's kind of lush, but at the same time, it's kind of like, ugh. I don't know that I need that. I don't know if I want to put that on the counter.
Yeah, I was telling you before we started tonight. Like, I read this like in a public area, and I was very like trepidatious about doing so because I didn't know what was going to be in it. Now, as it turns out, it's actually a very innocent book.
It is.
The cover of this thing, which of course is a buxom girl being molested by a leprechaun, is not anything like what you're going to read inside. Almost to my disappointment, but I thought this was going to be about a rapey leprechaun. I was excited.
I thought the very same thing,
but it's not. It's actually a very interesting kind of Twilight Zone-ish horror tale. But to finish my point, like. I thought, like, we were going to get something really X-rated here, and I'm like, I can't read this in public. Someone's going to see it. And nope, they really do trick you with those covers. Is that like a common thing in comics? Is to just like, listen, this whole thing is about a guy reading a book in a library. Great, put a nude girl on the cover.
Basically. And it's like, I don't know who you're trying to... I know who you're trying to appeal to, but at the same time, it's like, Because I think... had the cover looked a little bit more like what it was going to happen in the book here, I don't know that it would have hurt the sales any. It might have helped them. Right. Because it's just... Because, I mean, this isn't a book as relatively or comparatively innocent as the story is. It's still not a book for kids. No. So you're trying to attract an older bunch here, but at the same time, I don't know that the older bunch would be lured in by the very buxom and suggestive cover. At least, I don't know, not a grown person that I'd want to be stuck in an elevator with.
So, as I flip through the book here, I'm noticing that there were alternative covers to this. There's cover A, which has our hero, who's, of course, coming out of her top, because aren't all girls coming out of their tops. But at least you have...
90% of the time.
Yeah, at least you have the monster leprechaun kind of in the background, and there's a pot of gold. And I'm wondering if that might not have been the one to go with, because it seems like in every other iteration of this they went with cover B, which has nothing to do with anything. It's like, again, a rapey leprechaun pulling on the chest of this poor woman who's in a bustier for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I mean that's how you celebrate. That's we all put those on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, I have to go get my St. Patrick's Day bustier.
My kilt and bustier.
All right, so the St. Patrick's Day special 2013, the story so far. For centuries, it was assumed that fairy tales and fables were fictional stories passed down from generation to generation. However, that is not entirely true. Beings from 4 different realms linked to Earth do in fact exist. These realms are known as Mist, Neverland, Wonderland, and Oz.
I didn't know we needed. You figure a story like this, how much continuity do we need?
Leprechauns exist and wreak havoc. Go.
The end. Yeah.
Selah Mathers is one of the defenders of our world who has been chosen to help protect and guide others on Earth, while also preventing evil from taking over the world. This is her story. So in this issue, when Selah visits a small pub on St. Patty's Day, she hears different stories from 3 random patrons that all have one common link: greed. Something very dangerous is lurking within the bar, and Selah must get to the bottom of the mystery before it's too late. So yeah, this is kind of like the Betty Page ones that we did.
Yeah.
Our framing device is we have this Selah Mathers girl who, this is her day off. Like, she's, whatever it is that led up to this point, and this is a one-shot, so I don't know how, I don't know if there's a solid...
She has an ongoing, or she is an existing character with, a long lineage and history, or
right.
full of lore. We don't know.
Right. Like I said, I've seen, Naughty Snow White and Naughty Alice in Wonderland and Red Riding Hood and all of that, but I don't know if she, if like you said, if this is an ongoing series where she just keeps fighting fantasy monsters or not. But whatever's happening, she's just about had enough of it when she gets to this bar. And so she's like, bartender, I need a drink. And there's a guy who wants to talk to her, and he's like, she's like, Jesus Christ, I'm a woman, it's 2013, can't I just sit in a bar and drink? And
it's like, ladies' night, damn it.
He's like, I'm not here to hit on you, but I must tell you my tale. And so he does. He tells her... this is the okay. So this is the one where he and some other crew decide they're going to rob a bank.
Yeah.
And immediately I laughed at this first panel. This is Candy from a Baby. This story, right? This bank job is supposed to be so easy. It's Candy from a Baby. Get it?
Hey.
Now, 3 of the guys are dressed like fully clothed adult male bank robbers. Then there's the one woman who the artist decided, you know what women's boobs should look like? Bananas. Tell me that's not what her chest looks like. It's got this weird smile banana thing going on.
Oh, it totally does. It's very, very bizarre. I didn't notice it until now, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need everybody in the comic to look exactly, like a human being, but come on, try a little harder. Yeah. And then, I don't know about you, Chris, but whenever I rob a bank, I like to make sure that my tits are hanging out.
Oh, for sure.
Good grief.
For sure.
Even the Great Muppet Caper, which featured 3 jewel thief women, they were all dressed appropriately. What the hell, man?
Yeah, this is. I'm looking. Yeah, these boobs are. It's like it's like a mixture between pecs and actual boobs. It's so spread out. Yeah, that can't be comfortable.
She looks like Black Widow, but Black Widow in a porn. Her
in an original English language manga iteration.
Yeah, she's got this zip up thing going on, and it's half zipped down, so
because she can't zip it up all the way.
Yeah, she's too busty. Anyway, so they finally put on their ski masks, they zip up, and they go and they rob this bank. In and amongst the bank robbery, they discover a pot of gold that they've gotten. And what they realize over the short course of owning this pot of gold is that they're all having horrible accidents.
Cursed.
They are cursed. Yep. First, he and the blonde banana tits girl, they go on a cruise, and the railing comes loose, and she falls to her death.
Yeah, while they're doing an imitation of that scene in Titanic.
Yep.
where she like spreads her arms out, she's king of the world or whatever, and then ka-clink, she falls.
I love this line. I can show you the world or some shit. That's Aladdin. It's not Titanic. Anyway, so they're making out on the rail of this boat, and the rail comes loose, and down she goes, and she dies.
Mm-hmm. We get to see her underwear on her way down too.
You're right, we do. We get a tasteful shot of her crotch.
Yep, totally.
So now they're back in a bar, the remaining members of this crew. And they're like, we don't know what happened, and blah, blah, blah. We're just kind of trying to figure out, like, what a freak accident that was. And then so there were three dudes, and one of them was, like, a heavy blonde dude. And he was like, oh, my God, Larry and Elena told me they thought you did it, that you had killed Kim, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, they're having all kinds of problems here. He goes, I think something's after us, man. That money, I think it was cursed. The guy's like, are you shitting me? Literally says that. He's like, I wish. And then he shows what happened to the other two, the busty girl and then the third guy. The third guy is hanging by a noose in their apartment. I'm not entirely sure what happened to this woman. Like, a rattle got shoved in her mouth, and something seems to have erupted from her chest.
Yeah, it's like her entire chest is torn open. There's a big hole there where her heart and organs would have been. The rattle in her mouth, I think that's like a play on the whole candy from a baby thing that's been kind of the running gag, but kind of not the running gag because they only said it like in the very beginning. So I think it was supposed to be a callback, but it was a poorly done callback.
And they do address it. They say, "Oh, candy from a baby. I got it. Rattle." Yep.
Yeah.
So he freaks out.
It's too subtle.
So our lead here starts choking the blonde guy, but when he does, the curse takes its form, and he erupts with a bunch of gold coins coming out of his body.
Yeah, he's like a slot machine, just paying out.
Yep, and there's blood and gold everywhere. And she's like, "Do you believe in curses?" She goes, "I do. I'm not sure I like the answer, but I was kind of hoping you'd say I was crazy." And she says, "Why?" He says, "Because maybe then it would be true. Better crazy than damned." She goes, "Danny, what's in your bag?" And he says, "Nothing I'm interested in holding on to. Thanks for hearing me out. Not many folks would take the time." And so he leaves the bag of gold there. So he decided that it, in fact, was cursed. He wasn't going to hang on to it any further to see what else might happen to him, and he just gives away the bag of gold. So that's story number one. Story number two. We have this woman. She's, looking like she's dressed for a night on the town, but not. She, this isn't like the previous gal who I feel the need to make fun of.
She is relatively tasteful in her short mini dress and low cut top.
So this is Marriages of Jenna Normandy, and our beginning here of the story shows her various marriages to old men. They don't last very long.
She's a gold digger.
That's right. She's a black widow is what she is, speaking of which. She did this quite a few times.
Yeah.
And every time she said yes, and every time they died. The last guy ends up, I think, being stricken with cancer.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll just pay you to stay with me. And she's like, no, I don't want to be like that. And then he gets better, weirdly enough. He goes, "Jenna, yes, I know I've been in remission, but..." And she's like, "Can we not talk about this?" "No, really, I just want to tell you if I ever got worse again, I don't expect you to stay with me. I don't want to drag you down. I want you to live a long and beautiful life." And she's like, "I'm not staying with you for that. I'm staying with you because I love you. Yay! She found true love. Look at her." And then he died.
Then he dies, yeah. Yeah, the curse has set in on her here. Her gold-digging ways, she's being punished for being without love, and now she's being punished for being with love. And this is going to continue for the rest of her tale here. Anyone she says she loves winds up dead. So, like, we have the husband here, the fourth husband, who's died. Then she calls her mother in a panic instead of calling 911. And the mother's like, "Okay, well, I'll call the police for you." And as they get off the phone, they say they love each other, which causes the mother to have an embolism and die, or an aneurysm.
Right.
The next thing we know, we're at the funeral,
right,
where her father comes up. She says she loves him, and he keels over dead.
So we're back at the bar now, and she says, every time I say those words to someone, they drop dead. It can't be coincidence, can it? It's punishment. Do you think I deserve that? She's like, I've always taught people that fate deals its hand based on our actions and our choices. And she says, it's the money. It's cursed, isn't it? And so she gives up the money. She's like, you know what? I will take just enough to live my life, and I will leave the rest. And so she is spared the curse, presumably. Mm-hmm. And a third guy walks in, and he tells his tale. And there's this preamble before the conversation starts where she's like, "I bet you're gonna tell me a story about greed, aren't you?" He's like, "How'd you know?" And so this is the one where this is called The Will. And basically the story here is that this guy and his wife are trying to con an uncle out of his estate. He's on his last legs, and he knows it too. He knows that they're bullshit.
Oh, totally.
The wife, who is just an absolute bitch, he throws her out of the room.
Oh, she's the worst. Yeah.
And says, all right, So the uncle and the guy start having a conversation, and the guy's like, no, we're not just trying to take your money because we're greedy people. There's a whole thing here. It's not like that, Uncle Richard. I don't want you to think I'm just a money-grubbing jerk. It's our son, Billy. We love him to death, but he's not like other kids. We have to put him in a special school. So the money is for, presumably, the argument being made here is that the money is to put him in this other school. And so the uncle's like, okay, I get it. I will help you. And then we see the shadow of the leprechaun on the wall, which is the first time we've seen that in, I think, the entire book.
It is, yeah.
So he gets out, having successfully conned the uncle, and he goes, the old bastard thought the money was cursed. I told him the Billy story just like we rehearsed. You told him the Billy story just like we rehearsed, right? He's like, he ate it right up. Oh, these schnooks.
Oh.
They lied. They lied to get the cursed money. At which point they see a rainbow. Because
that they're quite distracted by.
Yes, because St. Patrick's Day, get it? Rainbows and leprechauns and gold, oh my. A car comes out of nowhere. He hits the brakes. They get into a car accident. The woman goes flying through the window.
And I love this next panel where the husband like stands up in the car through the hole in the windshield.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Hello there.
It's like a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, no one would actually do that, but whatever. No. So she's dead on the ground, and there's a gold coin lying beside her. And so we're back to Selah here, and Selah says, 2 people in here before you went through the same kind of thing. They chose to give up the money. Maybe you should too, before things get worse. And he's like, are you kidding? See, there's always one. It's all I've got left. Maybe you deserve it then. What'd you say? This is the bartender now. I've been listening to people come in and out all night telling sad stories about how they fecked off with some money and paid the price for it. Guess that's supposed to be like an Irish accent.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but I'm sensing a common theme. Maybe, just maybe, the money wasn't worth it, eh? And then the Selah is like, wait a minute, something's fishy here. So she pulls the bartender aside. And she's like, I know what you are. You are a leprechaun.
She's such a racially profiling this poor Irish man.
This poor Irish bartender. You're a leprechaun.
You must be a leprechaun, damn it.
And he's like, you're nuts, lady. I'm calling you a cab. Now, as it turns out, he's not the leprechaun.
Nope. Swerve.
The leprechaun was a guy we hadn't met yet. Yeah, just some dude in the back. He's in the bar, drinking a Guinness. Mm-hmm. And he sees the guy who wouldn't give up the money. And now
he's looking in the duffel bag that the first guy left.
Right. And that's when the leprechaun strikes. And it's not a fun-looking leprechaun. It's not a little dude with dancing shoes and, and red curly hair and a top hat. No, this is a goddamn demon. Mm-hmm. A big,
it looks
muscular,
like Blanca from Street Fighter.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, totally. And so the leprechaun speaks, and he says, interesting choice, Tristan. While others have fled in the face of tragedy, you embrace your greed. I am fascinated. I wonder if you will embrace your punishment with the same fervor. Why would he? No one does.
No.
And Sayla says, "Get away from him," because she is the defender of people from mythical demons and such.
Mm-hmm.
And the leprechaun's like, "What the fuck? you defend the greedy girl? Perhaps you two should answer for your selfishness." And then she says, "You don't know me." Well, none of us do. We haven't read any of your books before, lady.
No.
He says, "That won't affect me. Not in my place of magic." And he says, "They stole from me." And this goes on. He says, "You think me a murderer? Unequivocally not. You'll see, girl. I do not kill. Greed kills." And so our friend here who left in the hubbub got hit by like an armored truck.
Yeah.
It was full of gold.
An armored truck that hit him so hard it flipped over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like right after it hit him. Because there's like there are like maybe a half a foot between this dude's corpse and the upside down armored car.
This is pretty incredible. So some saved themselves. I gave them a chance at absolution. But others, well, I suspect you know the story all too well, Sella. And that's it. That's the end.
Yeah.
That is the end of our St. Patrick's Day tale.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, like we say, some books give us 2 hours worth of discussion, and some books are Death of Hawkman. What'd you think of this one?
Oh, well, I hope everyone goes and grabs a bite to eat because we got a lot to... No, we don't. This was okay. You know, I went into this with certain expectations. I literally judged a book by its cover, which they tell us not to do. And in comics, it's probably more true than most places since covers are usually, at least nowadays, meaningless. And I judged it by the cover. And when I opened it up, I was quite surprised that, there was no real gratuitousness outside of banana boobs. I mean, and that was more just a bad art than anything, gratuitous. Because the art throughout this is passable.
Yep.
It's not great. Not great by any stretch of the imagination.
Almost kind of like an artist like using chalk.
Kinda, but I feel like this artist could maybe by now they look a little bit more polished if they're still in the business. I don't know who it is. But back in 2013, there was a very strong amateur feel to this. I don't see this sort of thing flying at a different company than this. Dialogue was okay. This all comes across as quite amateur. I think we have this reveal, not a reveal, but we have this theory that the bartender is the leprechaun, right? And as soon as he opens his mouth and he speaks with that thick Irish accent, it's like, oh, okay, that's the direction they're going. And then, like 2 panels later, it's like, nope. It's like, well, that's do it.
That's the thing.
A little too quick.
Yeah, and that's where I agree with you. I think the stories themselves were fine. I think
sure.
And again, in terms of like an anthology type, like Twilight Zone-ish series, these stories where people got greedy and they got their comeuppance. And,
they're all on theme. It right. worked.
It was all fine. But if you're going to have this reveal at the end where some dude in the back of the bar is the leprechaun, you had to have been giving him something to do throughout this. Like, have him make a comment or something.
Sure. Yeah, just any sort of, giving a penny for his thoughts, just anything. But nothing.
Right.
We got nothing.
That could have been literally anybody. Like, they flash back to dude in bar, and I don't have the issue open anymore, but, like, I don't even think, like, he was just... There's no reason to suspect him, and I guess they thought that's good writing, but it really isn't. Narrative should flow. There should be, even if it's like an Easter egg or detail you missed in the background, it should be there doing something, adding to the story in some way, so that when you do reference it and it becomes the thing, it becomes he becomes the demon. You're like, oh, I should have seen it all along. You're not really rewarded for paying attention in this book because there's no way anyone would have thought it was that guy.
No, I mean, I'm flipping through it right now, and we do see him, and like he looks like he's drunk. Yeah. He's dancing on a table. I mean, he's just standing there. I think they really thought they were like shooting one past the goalie here, but they were not. Another thing, the dialogue here, I think the stories progressively got better. The first story, I mean, this is a short book. We went through the whole thing in like 5 minutes, it's a short book. There's not a whole heck of a lot to it, but that opening story with the bank robbery, like it felt like they were trying to get like so many Irish things in there. It's like, hey, a pot of gold, it's magically delicious. It's like, no, just because Lucky Charms has a leprechaun on it, that doesn't. What are you talking about?
That's hysterical.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh man, is this going to be the whole damn book? But thankfully, it got better as it went along, because that first one was a little rough.
Before we go any further, let me first say that one of our great sponsors here on the show is Grammarly, and they could have used Grammarly to maybe shape some of this dialogue and storytelling, because it might have made it better.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's not great though. So, for you listeners of Source Material Live on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, brought to you by W2M, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to get Grammarly for free. All right. So, in all, I would tell you that I'm so used to reading like trade paperbacks and graphic novels, stories with more heft to them, that I don't do. I think if there was a type of comic that I read the least, it's the one shot.
Oh yeah, sure.
Even annuals are thicker and have more heft. At the very least, more content heft than a one shot. A one shot's like basically just the average comic book, right? It's
a give or take. Yeah, you don't need it. I mean, it doesn't add much because it's not part of something that's ongoing. It's just it's something you can choose to enrich your experience with or not, and not really lose a whole heck of a lot. I don't know if this Blanca leprechaun is a big looming threat in the Zenoscope universe. Mm-hmm. And after reading this, I don't care.
I think where I was going with this is I wish there had been a little bit, you only have so many pages to do this if you're going to do it this way. That's why I think like a full maybe double the size. Like go a full 64 pages, and I think you might have had something here, because I think this is the start of a good idea. But the problem is, by the time you get to where you need to go, you've run out of runway, and you kind of have to it's this guy. And we're talking about like one of the things that the story lacks is, that the surprise just sort of falls flat. You have no reason to think it's this guy, and then when it is, you're like, who cares?
Yeah. It would have made more sense if it was the bartender.
It would have, if they were going to do it that way. But I think and this is the point that I'm getting to, I think if they had had more time to devote to the story, if they had more pages they could have utilized, flesh this out a bit more, not too much more. It doesn't need to be, a 12-issue epic. But I'm just saying, double the size of the book, and I think you have enough panels then to tell a full story with the same bones you've got here. And I think it would have been a much more enjoyable read. I think my biggest criticism of this is it was too short. It's over before you've gotten anywhere.
It's true, and I mean this goes to an old comics trope, the old horror comic anthology with a framing sequence here. And just like with a lot of those, they put too much effort into the stories and not enough into the framework. Because I think they think they're selling the stories, where the framework that ties everything together comes secondary, and it very much did here. This was like the big reveal happens in the frame, but the frame was secondary to these, the will and the marriages of what's her face and the bank robbery. It just felt like it. To your point about adding more pages, it does feel like they ran out of pages. It's like here are these 3 stories, and we have X amount of pages to fill with how we tie this all together, and it just wasn't enough to make it as satisfying as it could have been. Also,
if Sella is supposed to be this guardian on Earth, what does she do? Because she just yelled at the leprechaun here.
I was thinking, she feels like a very Boilerplate, strong female character that we would see in a comic during these days. She doesn't. There's nothing special about her. Because I'm actually looking at the Zenoscope site right now. Celia Mathers was the guardian of the Nexus before her daughter Sky took over after the Battle of Arcane Acre. After years of using fairy tales to teach life lessons to people on the cusp of making immoral choices, Celia had taken a more active role in the wars between the realms. She's fought against the Dark One, the Dream Eater, the Being, and many other creatures of unfathomable power. Celia is extremely skilled and well-equipped to take on any enemy who stands against her. With her responsibilities passing on to another, only time will tell of what new adventures will unfold before a former protector of Earth. That's a whole lot of words. That doesn't really say a whole heck of a lot. But she just strikes me as, any insert strong female lead here.
I guess her superpower is nagging.
It seemed like it. and just... I don't think you read the current year X books here, but there's a character named Sage in these books who she was one of the very first X-Men. We just didn't know it. She was implanted into the Hellfire Club by Professor X to be kind of like his eyes in there. And this was revealed way after the fact, like 20 years after those stories happened. It's like, oh, this is Tessa, but now she's called Sage, and she's one of us now. And she always has been, but you just didn't know it. She is a horrible, horrible character who her mutant power seems to be, and it isn't, but it seems to be that she just gets annoyed by everyone that's around her. And all she does is bitch and complain about whatever she's tasked with, whoever's around her that's getting her off task. That is her every time she's on panel. It's like, oh God, what is she? She's going to complain. Okay. Oh man, Dupe just went by. Is she going to complain about that? Of course she's going to complain about that. That's what Celia and Celia Mathers actually kind of looks like her too, which is weird. But it seems like this is not a character. In just reading this issue, I don't need to read any other Celia Mathers Guardian of the Nexus adventures here, because why? It's just going to be, hey, it's a Wolfman. Oh, Wolfman, you're bothering me. Oh, you're shedding everywhere. Oh,
it's not like Zatanna who can fight back using magic or something.
And has a personality.
Yeah, Zatanna's a great character. But I'm just thinking in terms of, women characters who would be in this situation, give her magic, give her a weapon, give her something, a magical totem of some sort.
For all we know, she's got it, and since this was her day off, she just didn't use it.
I left my ghost trap at home.
Yes, sorry. I left those in my work pants. These are my ladies' night pants.
Can't a girl just go get a drink at a bar? Why do I have to always be fighting demons and monsters and whatnot?
Don't you guys have Betty Page's phone number?
All right. Before we go, I have a little treat for you. You know how you do leave these little segments at the end of your show with your guests? I got something for you here.
Oh.
Because I want you to be using AmazonMusic.com to find music, Chris Sheehan. I feel like it would enrich your life to be using the Amazon Music feature to find all kinds of music. And in this particular case, because it's St. Patrick's Week all week long here, I actually found for you to celebrate at home a soundtrack to St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day music.
Ooh.
Right here on AmazonMusic.com. And it's a mix of bands. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of these, but there's If I Should Fall from Grace with God by the Pogues.
Flogging Molly in there?
Oh, yes. There's Drunken Lullabies. Drunken Lullabies is the shit, man. I love. That's a good one. Shipping Up to Boston by the Dropkick Murphys. There's a Black 47 song on here. The Real Mackenzies, which is after you've discovered the Flogging Molly, they'll usually show up. If you like them, you'll like these guys.
Sure.
There's Irish Roger by the Blackguards, Irish Pub Song by the High Kings, The Three Little Jigs by Enter the Haggis.
Okay.
A band called The Tossers. Have you ever heard of The Tossers?
I have not.
They're pretty good too. This is Rocky Road to Dublin. Got Randy Dandy O by the Dreadnoughts, I'll Fly Away by Flatfoot 56, Barrels of Whiskey by the O'Reillys and the Patty Hats. The Night Pat Murphy Died by Great Big Sea. Here's one for you. Drinking All Day by the Bible Code Sundays.
It's almost offensive, isn't it?
Here's Drink Too Much by You Irish Fucks.
Yes. Here's Rosy Cheeked Red Nose.
By the Irish Need Not Apply.
Yes.
Here's Potato Famine by by Car Bomb.
Here's Fist Fighting Dad on the Front Porch.
The Beer Song by Gaelic Storm. Meet Me on McLean by Shalila Law. Galway Girl by Shalala. Yeah.
No, what is it?
You know, you're right. Shalala. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Galloway Girl by the Elders. Ratlin Bog by the Irish Descendants. The Wild Rover by the Dubliners, who I've heard of. And the Irish Rover, once again, by the Dropkick Murphys. That's so funny. It's going in the description of this when I put this up. And a tasteful discussion of Irish music featuring Potato Famine by Car Bomb. Anyway, you can listen to all those songs and many, many more. You can find all your St. Patrick's Day music on AmazonMusic.com. If you sign up, if you use our link, you'll get a free 30 days of Amazon Music. So to get AmazonMusic.com/W2M Network, that's GetAmazonMusic.com/W2M Network. You get your free 30 days of Amazon Music, and you can stream all of the St. Patrick's Day music or anything else you want all day long, all you want. How about that?
Be listening to that while I'm kneading Nana's soda bread, so it'll be all good.
That's right. And while you're making your corned beef, your two kinds of corned beef that you're going to put in an envelope and mail to me with the pizza roll.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that's it. I think we've now talked about this issue more than anybody else on Earth has.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are the authorities on whatever the hell this book was called. 2013.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow on Damn You Hollywood, St. Patrick's Week on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network continues with a movie from 2019 by a bunch of Italians called The Irishman.
It's a spaghetti Irish.
Yeah, it is. Oh, boy. And then on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day itself, we'll have our Metal of Doom St. Patrick's Day Spectacular. We will be reviewing Fiddler's Green, 3 Cheers for 30 Years. It's their 30th anniversary album where they covered, Fiddler's Green did, who were an Irish speed folk band. They covered traditional Irish bar songs, like Whiskey in the Jar and the Galloway Girl and whatnot. So it was a lot of fun. Or it will be a lot of fun, rather. We'll be breaking from the theme on Thursday, because Jesse don't listen to me. Just does his own thing. He's a rebel. Rebel Jesse Starcher. It'll be doing the Unspoken Issues, Transformers number 80. Last week, we reviewed Extraction based on the graphic novel Ciudad, Raya and the Last Dragon, AEW Revolution. Which I'm telling you, you missed a good one there, Chris.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
the lack of explosion alone would have been well worth it. We reviewed A Day to Remember, You're Welcome, and SpongeBob Sponge on the Run. All right, what do you got going on in your world? This being the 15th of March.
Oh, well, that's that's today, so I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm probably still doing X-Lapsed. I'm definitely still doing X-Lapsed. I think I'm right around 150 episodes in, and I'm looking at my short box full of current year X stuff right now, and it's still about a quarter full. So we got a long way to go before I'm even just caught up. So I guess it'll still be daily or almost daily for the next little while. You could find that at chrisandreggie.podbean.com and also chrisisoninfiniteearths.com. You could find me on Twitter at Ace Comics.
Chris will be back with us a week from this Thursday, March 25th, to review Fastlane on the cock. Are you ready to embrace the cock?
Well, just like our friend Vince, I love the cock. So we're gonna be all over it, and I'm looking forward to seeing if this app works better than the awful WWE Network app.
From what I've heard, it doesn't. So.
Oh, lovely.
They just dumped the content on there and were like, quality schmality.
We downloaded the Peacock app because the wife wanted to see some of what they added to The Office, even though that's all behind the paywall. So we're just going to wait for the subscription to flip over to see that. But one of the reasons we got it was to see if they uploaded. I don't know if you're a soap opera guy. I would imagine probably not. But there was a soap opera on NBC during the late 90s and into the 2000s called Passions. Are you familiar with Passions?
I am not, sir.
Oh, boy. It is. If you saw it, you would swear it was a parody of a soap opera, but it's not. They play it straight. And it's about like a mystical town called Harmony, where there's like a witch who lives there, and there's like a little person who is her son, but he's also like a mannequin, like a ventriloquist dummy. I mean, it is some wild, wild shit. And we were hoping it would be on there, and alas, it's not. So if there are any Passions fans listening or any Passions curious people, just look it up on YouTube. It's a trip.
All right. Folks, with that said, we are done with our St. Patrick's Day edition of Source Material Live. Always a pleasure to have you on, Chris Sheehan.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. For the rest of you, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and, of course, enjoy your St. Patrick's Day and behave.
You go around.